Okay, let's just dive right in. We're all talking about the existential threat of AI, right? But what if we're all looking in the completely wrong direction? What we're going to talk about today is a different kind of danger, one that's way more subtle, and it's happening right now. It's this idea that our greatest invention isn't rising up to destroy us, but instead, it's quietly lulling us into a state of total dependence.
And this one sentence, this is the heart of our entire investigation today. It just flips the classic sci-fi script right on its head. See, the real risk isn't some robot rebellion. It's a human surrender. A willing, comfortable, convenient surrender of our own ability to think.
So that brings us to the big question. For you, for me, for all of us. As we keep embracing these incredible tools that promise to make our lives so much easier, are we, without even realizing it, trading away the very skills that make us human? It's a deep fear, and as you're about to see, it is not new at all. You know, to really understand why we're so anxious about AI, we need to take a step back. This fear, this specific fear that our new technology is making our minds weaker, is a ghost that has been haunting us for thousands of years. I mean, just look at this pattern. From ancient Greece all the way to 20th century America, every time a new medium comes along, writing, the novel, television, the smartest people of the era sound the exact same alarm. This new thing is going to make us passive, it's going to make us lazy, and it's going to make us less capable. Let's start way back with Socrates. He was genuinely worried about the invention of writing. His argument was that if we could just rely on, external marks to remember things, then our own internal memories would just wither away. We'd seem like we know a lot, but we would have just outsourced our knowledge, creating, as he put it, the appearance of wisdom, not true wisdom. Okay, now jump forward a couple thousand years to the age of television. The brilliant media theorist Marshall McLuhan came up with this game-changing idea. He said, look, we're always focused on the content, the TV show, the movie, the news story. But the real change, the real message, is the technology itself and how it fundamentally reshapes our senses and our society. And McLuhan's metaphor for this? Oh, it is perfect. We sit around arguing about whether a TV show is good or bad. That's the juicy meat. While the real burglar, the medium of television itself, just sneaks right in and rewires our brains for short attention spans and constant stimulation. Building on that same idea, Neil Postman warned that a culture completely saturated by the flickering light of the TV would just lose its ability for serious thought. He was afraid of a world where everything, politics, news, even religion, has to be packaged as entertainment. And because of that, public conversation would become shallow and meaningless. So when you lay it all out like this, you can see this clear escalation, right? We go from static writing to linear novels to broadcast TV. And with each step, the technology gets more immersive and we get more passive. And that all leads up to social media, which is a whole different beast. It's interactive, it's personalized, and it is literally engineered to hijack our attention. So now, let's see how these old philosophical fears are being proven by modern science. For centuries, these were just worries, philosophical debates. But here's where the story takes a huge turn. Because now, neuroscience can actually show us what's physically happening inside our skulls. What Socrates and McLuhan worried about, we can now see in the actual wiring of our brains. The key concept here is something called neuroplasticity. As Nicholas Carr laid out in his book, The Shallows, our brains are not fixed. They physically adapt to the tools we use. So when we use the internet, with all its links and notifications and constant distractions, we are literally, physically, building a brain that's fantastic at scanning and multitasking, but absolutely terrible at sustained focus and deep thinking. Just look at this contrast. On the left, you have the skills that come from deep reading a book. Focus, empathy, critical thinking. And on the right, that's the internet brain. Scanning, impatient, always multitasking. We are actively making a trade, swapping one set of skills for the other. The real question is, what are we losing in that deal? And that's where cognitive neuroscientist Maryanne Wolf comes in. She reminds us of something incredible. Our brains are not born knowing how to read. Deep reading is a miraculous piece of technology that we invented, and it has to be carefully taught to every single new generation. Her great fear is that in our rush to just skim and scroll, we're letting this incredible invention fall apart. And with it, we risk losing the very capacity for empathy and complex thought that a healthy society depends on. Okay, so if our brains are being fundamentally rewired for distraction, you have to ask yourself, who benefits from that? Because let's be crystal clear, this massive shift in human cognition is not some unfortunate side effect. It is the absolute core of a massively profitable business model. The scholar Shoshana Zuboff gave it a name, surveillance capitalism. And the idea behind it is chillingly simple. Big tech companies just decide, on their own, that our private human experiences, every single click, every like, every pause, are free raw material for them to take. They then use all that data to predict our future behavior. Here's exactly how it works. Step 1, they just capture your data. Step 2, they feed it all into these massive machine learning systems to create products that predict what you're going to do next. And step 3, they sell those predictions to the highest bidder who wants to influence what you do. The more predictable you become, the more valuable their product gets. And this isn't some conspiracy theory. Former Google design ethicist Tristan Harris gave us the insider's perspective. He revealed that features like infinite scroll and pull to refresh, they're not there for our convenience. No, they are deliberately designed using the exact same principles as a casino slot machine to get us hooked, to hijack our most primitive urges, and to keep us scrolling so they can keep harvesting our data. And all of this brings us to right now, to AI. Artificial intelligence really is the culmination of all these trends we've been talking about. It's the most powerful, the most seductive, and potentially the most dangerous tool for mental outsourcing that humanity has ever created. The scientific term for what's happening here is cognitive offloading, and it's something we've always done. Making a grocery list is a form of cognitive offloading. But AI is offering to offload something far more fundamental, the actual process of thinking itself. And the potential costs are already starting to become clear. A lot of early research and anecdotal evidence are pointing to a really worrying correlation, one that looks a lot like what you see on this chart. The major concern is a significant negative link. The more that people rely on AI tools to do the work for them, the more their own critical thinking skills could diminish. It's like a muscle you stop using. The ability for independent thought could actually start to atrophy. So this really lays the entire historical journey bare, doesn't it? First, we offloaded our memory onto the written page. Then, we offloaded our attention to the screen. And now we are being offered the ultimate convenience, to offload the hard work of thinking itself. And this brings us to the most uncomfortable part of the whole story. The gilded cage we might find ourselves in isn't being forced on us. The engine that keeps us locked inside is when we power ourselves every single day with one of our most common human feelings. Get this, research from the American Psychological Association found this vicious cycle. It starts when you feel bored, so you reach for your phone. But the constant, rapid switching between little bits of content, the very thing you do to cure boredom, actually makes the feeling of boredom worse. It creates this state of permanent dissatisfaction that just keeps you swiping, always engaged but never truly fulfilled. Which leaves us with one last, unavoidable question. The bars of this gilded cage are made of convenience and efficiency. Nobody is forcing us inside. So, are we the architects of our own cognitive decline? Are we willingly building this prison around ourselves, one convenient, thoughtless, and perfectly engineered swipe at a time?